Top story this afternoon, Johannesburg Emergency Services will hold a memorial service on Wednesday for 3 firefighters who died battling a fire at the Bank of Lisbon building. Well, that fire broke out on the 23rd floor of the building in the Johannesburg CBD last Wednesday. The building, which accommodated 3 Gauteng departments, is one of 7 government buildings in the city centre that don't comply with the health and safety standards. Firefighters had spoken out on Friday already, claiming there was no water inside the building to douse the fire. That memorial service will begin with a wreath-laying ceremony at the scene of the fire at 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, as questions are still being asked as to what caused the blaze that broke out on Wednesday in Central Johannesburg at the Lisbon Bank building, health unions and political parties are looking to hold management to account. 3 firemen died and 8 others were injured in the fire disaster. Workers at the Lisbon building are to be relocated, and the students housed in the building next to it are to be given clarity on the safety status. SABC reporter Nozintombi Miya spoke to them on the ground.
Well, earlier today, Gauteng health unions held a press briefing here outside the Lisbon Bank building, and they're looking to ensure that management structures from the very middle management all the way up to provincial management is held accountable for the fire disaster incident that we saw play out this week. It's still not clear when and where the workers that were in this building will be reallocated to. You'll recall there's 3 government departments that were housed here, and it's still not clear. We'll get further clarity as the week progresses. One of the other buildings that were affected is the student accommodation building that's right next to the Bank of Lisbon building. And you'll recall that the students had to be evacuated from the building, and they were given, or they were told they'd be given, alternative accommodation. And now to speak to us a little bit further about this is one of the students, some of the students that were there on that day. You were there on Wednesday when the fire initially started. What do you recall seeing?
What I can recall, ma'am, is that on Wednesday morning I've seen the firefighter fall down. From falling down, then we actually thought that it was a clothing which was actually falling. Unfortunately, when we saw live, we've only to realize that it was a fireman who was actually trying to prevent the fire from actually persisting. However, the man died right on the spot. Then on the next day, after he died, they evacuated us from our building, which is City Waldorf. They've taken us to that park. They told us that they will take us to the army camp in Pretoria to actually stay there for at least a period of a day. Unfortunately, we did not go because they've realized that the building was very, very safe. Therefore, we went back in. But what traumatized me, and I'm still traumatized, is that I cannot cope with my studies simply because what I've seen is totally disturbing. I don't even know what to do. I can't even complete my assignment as a result of what has happened. Right. However, ma'am, I do actually blame the government for actually not complying with the occupational health and safety, because from the year 2014 they've been telling them that they should actually comply with the occupational health and safety. Yes. However, the management, when very negligent, this is what has occurred. The reason for the occurrence is as a result of the negligence, right, and therefore they should pay the repercussions. You weren't the only students that was also traumatized by what happened. You were there on Wednesday as well. You saw what happened. You're also dealing with the trauma of that.
Yeah, I'm still dealing with the trauma. I'm taking it one day at a time. At least now the schools are we're going to recess, so everyone just went home, because normally students stay for a few days, and then but some people just left on the same day and stuff. So we're still trying to deal with it day by day. But what we've seen with any human being, seeing a guy just falling from the 3rd floor and crashing down, it's very traumatic.
The students were supposed to be reallocated and found alternative accommodation, but this didn't happen. Yeah. And a lot of students found themselves in a position where they just simply didn't know where to go.
Yeah. Okay, we were told to evacuate from the building, and then after 10 o'clock, they told us they're going to take us to Pretoria because they're still searching if it's safe for us to go back. So at around 9:30, we were told it is safe to go back because the building was still it was still on fire, but then like they told us it won't fall. So since from that day till today, everything is still fine.
But you're struggling. You said you're struggling to sleep as well because you're right next to it.
Every time, if they wake me up while I'm asleep, I'm gonna jump, and they're now making it a joke. Because first thing first, I think about is my phone, forget about the clothes and everything. Just I feel like running same time.
All right, thank you. This particular student accommodation building houses about 700 students, and less than half of those students have come back since this incident. It's still not clear when the students will be given the final go-ahead to come back to this building. But as we anticipate during the course of next week, a lot more clarity will come out in terms of where the workers themselves of the Lisbon building will be reallocated to, and whether the students will then be told it is safe for them to come back and take occupation back again at the student accommodation. For now, it's back to you in the studio.